The master said, in learning and straightway practicing, is there not pleasure also? When friends gather round from afar, do we not rejoice? Whom lack of fame cannot vex, is not he a gentleman? Yutsu said, a dutiful son and brother is seldom fond of thwarting those over him. A man unwilling to thwart those over him is never given to crime. A gentleman nurses the roots. When the root is taken, the truth will grow. And what are the roots of love but the duty of son and of brother? The master said, honeyed words and flattering looks seldom speak of love. Zheng said, thrice daily I ask myself, have I been unfaithful in dealing with others? Have I been untrue to friends? Do I practice what I preach? The master said, to guide a land of 1,000 chariots, honor business, be true and sparing, love the people and time thy claims upon them. The master said, the young should be dutiful at home. The master said, the young should be dutiful at home, modest abroad, heedful and true, full of goodwill for the many, close friends with love. And should they have strength to spare, let them spend it upon the arts. Tzu said, if a man honor worth and forsake lust, serve father and mother with all his strength, be ready to give his life for the king, and keep faith with his friends. Though men may call him rude, I call him learned. The master said, of a gentleman who is frivolous, none stand in awe, nor can his learning be sound. Make faithfulness and truth thy masters, have no friends unlike thyself. Be not ashamed to mend thy faults. Saint Tu said, respect death and recall forefathers. The good in men will again grow sturdy. Tzuchian said to Tsukung, the master on coming to a country learns all about the government. Does he ask, or is it told him? The master said, the young Tzuchian said to Tzutkung, the master on coming to a country learns all about the government. Does he ask, or is it told him? Tzutkung said, the master learns it by his warmth and honesty, by politeness, modesty, and yielding. The way that the master asks is unlike other men's asking. The master said, as long as his father lives, the son should study his wishes. After he is dead, he should study his life. If for 3 years he do not forsake his father's ways, he may be called dutiful. Yutsu said, in daily courtesy, ease is of price. This was the beauty of the old king's ways. This they followed in small and great. By knowing this, it is not right to give way to ease unchecked by courtesy. This also is wrong. Yutsu said, if promises hug the right word can be kept. If attentions are bounded by courtesy, shame will be banished. Heroes may be worshipped if we choose them aright. The master said, a gentleman who is not a greedy eater, not a lover of ease at home, who is earnest in deed and careful of speech, who seeks the righteous and profits by them, may be called fond of learning. Tsukung said, poor but no flatterer, rich but not proud. How were that? Good, said the master, but better still were poor, yet merry, rich, yet courteous. Tsukung said, where the poem says, if ye cut, if ye file, if ye polish and grind. Is that what is meant? The master said, now I can talk of poetry to thee, Tzu. Given a clue, thou canst find the way. The master said, not to be known should not grieve you. Grieve that ye know not men. The master said, In governing cleave to good as the North Star holds his place, and the multitude of stars revolve upon him. The Master said. The Master said, to sum up the 300 songs in a word, they are free from evil thought. The Master said, guide the people by law, subdue them by punishment. They may shun crime, but will be void of shame. Guide them by example, subdue them by courtesy. They will learn shame and come to be good. The Master said, at 15 I was bent on study, at 30 I could stand, at 40 doubt ceased, at 50 I understood the laws of heaven, at 60 my ears obeyed me, at 70 I could do as my heart lusted and never swerve from right. Mengi asked the duty of a son. The Master said, obedience. As Fan Chia was driving him, the Master said, Meng Sun, ask me the duty of a son. I answered, obedience. What did you mean? Said Fan Chia. To serve our parents with courtesy whilst they live, said the Master, to bury them with all courtesy when they die, and to worship them with all courtesy. Meng Wu asked the duty of a son. The Master said, what weighs on your father and mother is concern for your health. To you asked the duty of a son. The Master said, today a man is called dutiful if he keep his father and mother. But we keep both our dogs and horses, and unless we honor parents, is it not all one? Tzu asked the duty of a son. The Master said, our manner is the hard part, for the young to be a stay and toil, and leave the wine and cakes to their elders. Is this to fulfill their duty? The Master said, if I talk all day to Hui like a dullard, he never stops me, but when he is gone, if I pry into his life, I find he can do what I say. No, Hui is no dullard. The Master said, look at a man's acts, watch his motives, find out what pleases him. Can the man evade you? Can the man evade you? The Master said, who keeps the old kindled and adds new knowledge is fitted to be a teacher. The Master said, a gentleman is not a vessel. Tsukung asked, what is a gentleman? The Master said he puts words into deed first, and sorts what he says to the deed. The Master said a gentleman is broad and fair, the vulgar are biased and petty. The Master said, study without thought is vain, thought without study is dangerous. The Master said, work on strange doctrines does harm. The Master said, shall I teach thee what is understanding? To know what we know, and know what we do not know, that is understanding. Tzu Ching studied with an eye to pay. The Master said, listen much, keep silent when in doubt, and always take heed of the tongue. That wilt make few mistakes. See much, beware of pitfalls, and always give heed to thy walk. Thou wilt have little to rue. If thy words are seldom wrong, thy deeds leave little to rue. Pay will follow. Duke I asked what should be done to make the people loyal. Confucius answered, exalt the straight, set aside the crooked, the people will be loyal. The Master said he puts words into deed first. Exalt the crooked, set aside the straight, the people will be disloyal. Chi King asked how to make the people lowly, faithful, and willing. The Master said, behave with dignity, they will be lowly. Be pious and merciful, they will be faithful. Exalt the good, teach the unskillful, they will grow willing. One said to Confucius, why are ye not in power, sir? The Master answered, what does the book say of a good son? An always dutiful son, who is a friend to his brothers, showeth the way to rule. This also is to rule, what need to be in power. The Master said, without truth I know not how man can live. A cart without a cross pull, a carriage without harness, how could they be moved? Tzu Cheng asked whether we can know what is to be 10 generations hence. The Master said, the Yin inherited the manners of the Xia. The harm and the good that they brought them is known. The master said, the yin inherited the manners of the Xia, the harm and the good that they wrought them is known. The Chu inherited the manners of the yin. The harm and the good that they wrought them is known, and we may know what is to be even 100 generations hence, when others follow Chu. The master said to worship the ghosts of strangers is fawning. To see the right and not do it is want of courage. Of the Chi, having 8 rows of dancers in his hall, Confucius said, if this is to be born, what is not to be born? The end of the worship, the 3 clans made use of the Young hymn. The master said, the dukes and princes assist. Solemn is the Son of Heaven. What sense is this in the hall of the 3 clans? The master said, a man without love, what is courtesy to him? A man without love, what is music to him? Lin Feng asked, what is the life of ceremony? The master said, a great question. At high tides, waste is worse than thrift. The master said, the yin inherited the manners of the Xia, the harm and the good that they wrought them is known. Lin Feng asked, what is the life of ceremony? The master said, a great question. At high tides, waste is worse than thrift. At burials, grief outweighs nicety. The master said, the wild tribes have kings, whilst the realm of Xia is without. The Qi worshipped on Mount Tiai. The master said to Jianyu, canst thou not stop this? He answered, I cannot. Alas, said the master, dost thou set Mount Tai below Lin Feng? The master said, a gentleman has no rivalries, except perhaps in archery. And then, as bowing, he joins the winners, or steps down to see the loser drink. Throughout the struggle, he is still the gentleman. Tzu Tia asked, what is the meaning of her cunning smiles, her dimples light, her lovely eyes so clear and bright, the ground not yet without colors dight? The master said, coloring follows groundwork. Then does courtesy follow after, said Tzu Tia. Lin Feng asked, what is the life? The master said, coloring follows groundwork. Then does courtesy follow after, said Tzu Tia. Sheng, said the master, thou hast hit my meaning, now I can talk of poetry to thee. The master said, I can speak of the manners of Xia, but for Qi witness fail. I can speak of the manners of Yin, but for the Sung witness fail. This is due to the dearth of books and great men. Were there enough of these, they would witness for me. The master said, after the drink offering at the great sacrifice, I have no wish to see more. One asked about the words of the great sacrifice. The master said, I do not understand them. Could one understand them, he would overlook the world as I this. And he pointed to his palm. Worship as though those ye worship stood before you. Worship the spirits as though they stood before you. The master said, if I take no part in the sacrifice, it is none to me. The master said, Wang Sun Chia said, what is the meaning of, it is better to court the kitchen god than the god of a home? Not at all, said the master. A sin against heaven is past praying for. The master said, 2 lines of kings have passed beneath the ken of Chu. How rich in art is Chu. It is Chu I follow. And eating the great temple, the master asked how each thing was done. One said, who says that the man of Tzu's son has a knowledge of ceremony? On entering the great temple, he asked how each thing was done, and hearing this, the master said, such is the ceremony. The master said, to pierce through the target does not score in archery, because men differ in strength. This was the old rule. Tzu Kung wished to do away with the sheep offering at the new moon. The master said, thou lovest the sheep. Tzu, I love the right. The master said, treat the king with all courtesy. Men call it fawning. The king asked how a king should behave to his ministers. How could ministers serve their king? Said, what is the meaning of... Confucius answered, a king should behave with courtesy to his ministers. Ministers should serve the king faithfully. The master said, the poem, the osprey is glad but not wanton, it is sad but not morbid. Duke I asked Tsai Wo about the shrines of the guardian spirits. Tsai Wo answered, the Xia emperors grew firs round them. The men of Yin grew cypress, the men of Chu grew chestnut, meaning jest, not over holy matters. On hearing this, the master said, I do not speak of what is ended, chide what is settled, or find fault with what is past. The master said, how shallow was Quan Chung, but said one, was not Quan Chung thrifty? Kuan owned San Kuei, and in his household none doubled offices, said the master. Was that thrift? At least Kuan Chung was versed in courtesy. The master said, kings screen the gates with trees. Confucius answered, a king should behave with... The master said, kings screen the gates with trees. Kuan too had trees to screen his gate. When two kings make merry together, they have a stand for the turned-down cups. Kuan had a turned-down cup stand too. If Kuan were versed in courtesy, who is not versed in courtesy? The master said to the chief musician of Lu, how to play music may be known at first each part in unison, then a swell of harmony, each part distinct, rolling on to the finish. The warden of Yi asked to see Confucius, saying, no gentleman has ever come here, whom I have failed to see. The followers presented him. On leaving, he said, my lads, why lament your fall? The world has long been astray. Heaven will make of the master a warning bell. The master said, oh, beautiful and noble is the music of Shao. The music of Wu is as beautiful but less noble. The master said, rank without bounty, ritual without reverence, mourning without grief, why should I cast them a glance? The master said, love makes a spot beautiful. Who chooses not to dwell in love, has he got wisdom? The master said, loveless men cannot bear need long. They cannot bear fortune long. Loving hearts find peace in love. Clever heads find profit in it. The master said, love can alone love others or hate others. The master said, a heart set on love will do no wrong. The master said, wealth and honors are what men desire, but abide not in them by help of wrong. Lowliness and want are hated of men, but forsake them not by help of wrong. Shorn of love is a gentleman worthy thy name. Not for one moment may a gentleman sin against love, nor in flurry and haze, nor yet in utter overthrow. The master said, a friend to love, a foe to evil, I have yet to meet. A friend to love will set nothing higher, and love, service, a foe to evil, will let no evil touch him. The master said, were a man to give himself to love but for one day, I have seen no one whose strength would fail him. Such men there may be, but I have not seen one. The master said, a man in his faults are of a piece. By watching his faults we learn whether love be his. The master said, to learn the truth at daybreak and die at eve were enough. The master said, a scholar in search of truth who is ashamed of poor clothes and poor food, it is idle talking to. The master said, a gentleman has no likes and no dislikes below heaven, he follows right. The master said, gentlemen cherish worth, the vulgar cherish dirt. Gentlemen trust in justice, the vulgar trust in favor. The master said, the chase of grain is rich in hate. The master said, what is it to sway a kingdom by courteous yielding? Who cannot by courteous yielding sway a kingdom? What can he know of courtesy? The master said, be not concerned at want of place, be concerned that thou stand thyself, sorrow not at being unknown. To give himself to love but for one. The master said, Be not concerned at want of place, be concerned that thou stand thyself. Sorrow not at being unknown, but seek to be worthy of note. The master said, One thread shen runs through all my teaching. Yes, said Seng Tzu. After the master had left, the disciples asked what was meant. Seng Tzu said, The master's teaching all hangs on faithfulness and fellow feeling. The master said, A gentleman considers what is right, the vulgar consider what will pay. The master said, At sight of worth, think to grow like it. When evil meets thee, search thine own heart. The master said, A father or mother may be gently chidden, but if they will not bend, be the more lowly, but persevere, nor murmur if trouble follow. The master said, Whilst thy father and mother live, do not wander afar. If thou must travel, hold a set course. The master said, If for 3 years a son do not forsake his father's ways, he may be called dutiful. The master said, A father's and a mother's age must be borne in mind with joy on the one hand, fear on the other. The master said, Men of old were loath to speak. The master said, Be not concerned.